Pony Tales. Read by Scribbler.
Dear Princess Celestia, sometimes it's good to feel sad. If you feel sad, then at least you feel something. It's not bad to feel. In all honesty, I miss a time when I felt sad, because that meant I was able to feel anything beyond this heavy weight in my head and my chest. I feel as though some pony unscrewed my head and poured molten lead inside of me, filling me up to the point where I can't even move. At first, I couldn't understand what happened to me. I am in no way a candidate for depression, at least not in my understanding of it. I have a constant stream of adventure, of social interaction, of a complete love of life. I have evaded death at the hooves of others so many times that it seemed absurd that I would want to embrace it willingly by my own actions. And yet, there is an impossibly thick blanket of apathy that has been cast over me, and I cannot shrug it off. When the feelings began, I did some research into both the illness and my own life, and I was unable to dig up an exceptional amount of information on it. Most cases of depression, which are rare in Equestria to begin with, crop up in cities where the natural desire to roam free in nature cannot be fulfilled. It seems that beyond this reason, depression strikes randomly and indiscriminately. But you know me like I do, Princess. I do not accept randomness. And so I dug deeper into myself. The only possible cause for this depression is the time I spent estranged from the few friends I had in Canterlot, buried deep in my books. The seeds for suicide must have been planted there, but they hibernated for a good long time within me. You tried your best, Princess. You really did, and for that I thank you dearly. But I couldn't stave it off forever. I now wonder if Moondancer suffers as well. Was I enough to save her? I'm not sure, because I had you, Princess, and even you couldn't save me. Maybe you can still reach her. The book detailed how, when depression reaches its climax, often in the form of suicidal action, the sufferer can see only two options left in their life: feel pain forever, or be dead. And even knowing this, even being aware of how I feel, I don't see any other plausible option. It's bleak and illogical, but no matter how many times I run it over in my head, I can't find a way out. I am trapped in a gray maze, wandering endlessly, bumping into locked bars and turning away from caved-in tunnels. I've not spoken to any pony about any of this. Words only push a pony so far, Princess, and I would prefer not to cause undue strife where it is not needed. There were but two other pieces of information I was able to ascertain from my research into depression. The first was that ponies with depression will often carry on, pretending everything is all right. And I must say I did that in surplus. Even my most recent journey to Canterlot and my delving deep into the world of dreams, now that I reflect upon both events, were cases of me acting, sometimes overacting, to make up for the gaping void inside of me. Yet this goes back further still. The second piece of information that I gleaned from the book is that depression comes in waves. There will be a period of time where it affects the pony caught within its terrible grasp quite strongly, and then it will subside for a short period of time before returning. The bleakest part of that news remains the fact that the final stage of depression for many is a state of incredible apathy, where positive emotions no longer exist, and the sufferer can no longer tell apart the negative emotions. Instead, they all blur together, become a haze of misery. And I believe I have fallen into this final state. I hoped I was wrong. I hoped that one day I would wake up and laugh at the absurdity of everything, the sheer ridiculousness of my situation. I wouldn't even care how foolish or miserable I have been in the past, because in that moment, I would be free of the agonizing state of being that encapsulates me now. But those moments don't come. I wake up every single day, the weight from the lead growing heavier and heavier. And now, I have reached the point where the weight is so intense that I will collapse into a singularity if so much as a milligram of mass is added to me. I briefly considered heading down to Ponyville General Hospital and asking for help, but I knew the kind of help that I would receive there. Pills. Piles and piles of pills. I would lose my depression, but instead gain an addiction, and not even the guarantee of losing my depression. Other times they work too well, and they give you even more medication to control that, and so on and so forth, until all you are is a pony made of pills and prescriptions. No personality, just pills. I couldn't put myself through that, because I would not be myself after that. I'd be pill pony number 1727, not Twilight Sparkle. I've sent Spike away. He has been living with Rarity, something I arranged for him to do. He's helping her with a massive order that she received a few days ago from Sapphire Shores. The timing couldn't have been better. I don't want him to suffer through this any more than he has to. And being witness to what I am going to do will certainly do that. I'm not entirely certain how this will reach you without his powers, as I cannot muster the magical strength to do so myself. The unfortunate reality I am forced to face is that suicide does not make the pain go away. It merely hands it off to others to deal with. When the first thoughts of suicide crossed my mind, I banished them instantly. Even as I lost all will to carry on in myself, I resolved to live anyway. If I had to live, I would live for others. It's incredibly painful, I said to myself, but it is a pain I will have to endure. But after quite some time, I could no longer endure it, and suicide became more and more appealing. And as it is such an incredibly selfish act, I did not know for the longest time how I felt that I could partake in it. After a few nights of silent contemplation, however, I came to the only terribly sobering conclusion. I have lost who I am. The bright, curious little unicorn who was tempered in the fires of friendship and who battled against so many of Equestria's enemies with love in her heart and a determination to keep her life whole and her friends safe, to become the fourth piece of the Alicorn Tetrarchy, has died. There is only the empty husk of a mare who stalks the cold halls of a crystal palace, forcing herself to breathe in and out. There is but a tiny sliver of me left in me. A tiny sliver which would easily be claimed, should I resort to pills to try and solve this, pushing with all her force to keep going. But what point is there in pushing on, if all you push against is a brick wall? The world is a beautiful place, and I am no longer afraid to die. At first, I thought I was selfish for wanting to leave such a world. But as time goes on, I have come to terms with my feelings. If I cannot feel, if I cannot love, then I no longer fit inside the mechanism of this world, this Equestria. If I could still feel for my friends, I would. But I cannot. The only things close to being positive within me at this point, and it's certainly more a neutral feeling than anything else, is a curiosity as to how they will take my passing. That is the tiny sliver of me that is left, and it is the tiny sliver of me that I shall die with. I do not want any more pain than is necessary to be felt over my passing. I would like to present full closure. That is the purpose of this letter. To make sure there is no mystery to my actions. And even if I cannot stop them from crying and lamenting their loss, I would like to make it known to my closest friends and family that they did nothing wrong, and that I couldn't have been saved. It will hurt knowing this, but perhaps it will help you fully reconcile with my passing. I wonder now, what is worse for those close to me? Having to bury my body, or having to live with a mare who, even though they can see, feel, and talk to her, is not really there, and is merely existing, not living. Words only push a pony so far, Princess. Anything you could have said to me, at no fault of your own, would have fallen on deaf ears, on an empty mare who could not take them to heart. I would feel as if you didn't mean it, when, logically, I know that you would. The same goes for words from Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Applejack, Rarity, Princess Luna, Princess Cadence, even my own mother. I won't make you waste your breath on me. The time for useless melodrama has passed. I'm sorry. Farewell and good night. Your your student, Twilight Sparkle.
The parchment lay next to a half-empty bottle, the quill lying neatly next to it. A thick book sat on the edge of the scroll, keeping it from blowing off the desk it was seated on. The book possessed a dull grayish-blue cover, and thick black lettering displayed the title as The Big Gloom, Depression, and How It Affects Equines of the Three Pony Races in Urban Settings, Volume 1. The sun had set, but there was still enough light to cast deep, dark shadows, grossly exaggerated in length, across everything in the room. In the crepuscular shades, a single shadow, originating from the next room over, swung slightly from side to side. A gentle breeze wafted through the rooms of the now empty crystal castle, carrying with it a few purple feathers, as the final twilight set.
That was Wait. It was written by Regidar and read by Scribbler, with special guest voice actor Narrator Pony. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Rather a different turn this week. I got some complaints from, say, last week's fic, the fic that I released on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, being criticised for not being a dark fic. It is, but it's not an obvious dark fic. You have to think about it. It's fridge horror. You do need to think about that one. This one, on the other hand, wears its heart somewhat more on its sleeve. I don't know what to say about this one, other than it resonated with me, certainly. For those who may not know, for several years now I have in fact struggled with depression. Just before Christmas, I released a project that I've been working on since last March, which was quite a lot of catharsis, and it makes me sound like a complete emo twat, but it's a poem. Nobody is under any obligation or compunction to go and listen to that, but it was my attempt to exorcise a few demons from my head and my heart regarding struggling with depression and the swings it can take, how you can feel wonderful one day and absolutely crap the next, for no discernible reason, which is one of the major things that people who don't have depression find difficult to understand, that I've been told by people who don't have depression. One of my parents, the other of my parents, does actually suffer with depression too. In some ways a much worse form than mine, because that parent doesn't leave the house very much, predominantly because of the depression. But my other parent doesn't, has never, and knowing their personality, will probably never have depression. And that parent has before now been frustrated with me and with their spouse because they don't understand what it can be like to suddenly, for no reason whatsoever, have such a downward swing in your mood that everything is just too hard to do. And it sounds very self-indulgent, and in a lot of ways maybe it is, but when you're in that moment, it is like wearing a pair of blinkers and all you can see is the path ahead, and all that's on the path ahead are landmines and piles of untrodden dog shit. And you can't see anything good awaiting you, even though intellectually you know there's probably not. And if everything's not all bad, you can't help feeling in those moments that everything in the world is shit. And that you are shit, and that everything you do is shit, and there is no way of making yourself less shit, so why bother doing anything at all? And those are the hardest days. One, because it is very, very isolating, and two, because it's hard to make people understand without coming across as incredibly self-indulgent and petty and just plain wrong. I very unfortunately have come across people in my lifetime, I've worked with a few, who believe that depression is self-deception and is not real. To which I say, fuck you, pal. You live my life for a few days and you tell me depression isn't real. So this fic was not catharsis so much as when I was reading it, I realised that some of the things in it echoed things I'd thought or things I'd believed about myself while in the throes of depression. And the ending. Some would say it's very out of character for Twilight. It really does depend on your interpretation of the character. I am not going to debate that right now. What I am going to say is, if anyone has ever reached that point, then I would say immediately to seek help. Don't think that this is it. Don't think that the blinkers will stay on forever, that all you're ever going to have is broken bottles, bear traps and dog shit. It's not like that forever. I'm not saying that everything gets better. That would be a fucking lie. Life can be really, really crappy sometimes. I would even say life can be crappy most of the time. But you don't smash up one really huge, elaborate Lego house because of one brick that's the wrong shape. You don't smash everything to pieces because one is a little bit melted, isn't perfect, won't fit properly anymore. You don't smash everything. You may not be able to put that brick back into place. It may not ever fit properly again. It will never be perfect. But you can live with it. Just like I do. It's possible, put it that way. I'm not trying to hold myself up as any paragon of virtue here, because I'm fucking not. But I'm trying to say that it is possible to live with depression. And maybe not control it, but at least not let it control you 100% of the time. I'm going to put the links to some websites below, to depression awareness and to some suicide helplines. And with suicide helplines especially, I will say, it's not only for people who are thinking about suicide. It's for people who suspect that people they love, or people they care about, or people they work with, or just people that you vaguely know at school. If you have suspicions, please do air them. It's very hard to lose someone to suicide and not know why. Sometimes it's even harder to lose someone to suicide and know exactly why. So please, let someone know if you have suspicions that someone else is contemplating that, or let someone else know if you yourself have reached that point. I'm not going to do Artist Corner today, because it feels inappropriate after a message like that. So I'm just going to say thank you to my patrons, and then I'm going to end this here. So, thank you very much to Red Tiger, Matthew Byers, The Autistic Pony, Limey Pony, Ian Jensen, Shining Tevos Star, Marcus, Stephen Knight, Mystic Mystery, Andrew, Quill and Lead, Xena, Mad Curse, Starlight Stream, Ask Nightmare Luna, Ilya Leonov, Norman, Thought Police and Spies, Cody Mathers, Box Monster, Warrior of Virtue, Greg F., Ed Arthur, Sturdy Solus, and the One Ryu. Thank you very much, everybody. Next fic will be something a lot more positive. It is starting with Month of Lurv 2016. I will be bringing out the trailer for that one with the sign-up sheet ASAP, if it hasn't already gone up by the time this fic reading goes up. And with that, I say be lovely to each other, and good night, everybody.